Institutional investors, fund managers think the audit report gives you comfort on the full integrated report. It gives you comfort on the numbers, on the annual financial statements. And we as audit committees, in coming up with our combined assurance, and Cindy Zilwa also alluded to that in her model, all those different assurance providers, we need to understand who's providing what assurance, because we sometimes think that the auditor gives you, because he reads through the full integrated report, he gives you comfort that everything is 100%. That's not the role of the audit. But as audit committees, we need to know that and we need to understand it. There is a whole international process now to firstly make sure that auditors do the same thing, because there's also very convergent practice from one, sometimes even from one partner in the same firm to the next, as to how much work they do on the rest, on the sustainability report and the corporate governance statement and all the other stuff that goes with your financial statements. So auditors don't necessarily put in the same work effort. But so that's the one thing that needs to be fixed. Then also on what it is that they need to put an extra effort on. But very importantly, as audit committee members, but also as stakeholders or investors out there, that there's a better disclosure and greater transparency of what is the work effort. So that's a really important topic going forward, because it will probably change the scope of audit work, but it's important for audit committees because we need to understand what the gaps are and how do we fill those gaps. Then the next one is just on accounting disclosures, very similar. When it comes to all of those notes in the financial statements, there's some sense that maybe auditors are focusing a lot of attention on the numbers, and are they really stress testing the assumptions? Are they stress testing the valuations? And there's a big project that will possibly to a degree extend the scope of the audit work to deal with those disclosures and with the work that auditors are doing on those IFRS disclosures, but not necessarily the numbers. And then lastly, and this is probably the biggest one that's happening, is the new audit report. So I don't know if you've heard of it, but there's an exposure draft out that will change the audit report from being a robot to giving more information, so that every listed company, and at the moment the requirement is just for listed companies, that every listed company will be having specific entity, specific information in their audit report where they talk about what the key audit matters are within that entity. Why is this happening? Because investors are saying, you, auditor, know so much about what's happening in this entity. If we have better insight into what your issues were, your risk areas as an auditor, what you see in this entity, yes, the company must still disclose the information, but if we can have better insight into the audit, we can have better insight into the company. And that's really where the argument is coming from. So this requirement would be, put the audit opinion right there at the top, but then also disclose key audit matters to give more insight into the audit. What were the issues? What were the difficulties? And the third one that goes with that, and that is quite significant, is for an auditor to, in any event, make a statement on going concern. So in the financial crisis, the regulator said, what was going on here? The company failed 3 days after year end. There was no flag in the audit report. So auditors of listed companies in future will be expected to make a statement, whether it's good or bad, specifically make a statement on going concern for that entity. And then there are also a couple of other things. There are things about disclosing the engagement partner's name. It's a non-event in South Africa because our Act already requires that, but also giving more insight into the independence of that auditor. So those are really big things that are happening. I'm going to just show you 2 slides, and I'm not going to read through all of that. It's just an example of how one of those key audit matters would look like. So let's say in this entity, goodwill impairment was a big issue. There's something happening in the industry, mining. We've seen a lot of that recently, that maybe because of what's happening in the market, there's a risk that goodwill is impaired, and then the auditor gives some insight into why he sees it as a risk. What was the work that was done on this from an audit perspective to give the user or the stakeholder comfort that it's wasn't necessary in this example to impair. There's also an example, and I'm not sure whether you're getting copies of the slides, but there's also an example on ongoing concern in a good or in a bad situation for the auditor to explicitly make a statement on that. So again, a couple of things to discuss or to consider, and we'll talk about that when we get to our discussion just now. And then the last comment that I want to make is just on some of the new projects. And all I want to say is, I wrote an article for Mervyn King. Cindy, you spoke about Mervyn King earlier on. Mervyn King has got this very good journal. I don't know if you've prescribed to it, and he's not paying me commission to advertise it. I just think it's good. I've subscribed to it. It is, they call it the corporate report. I don't know if any of you've seen it. It comes out quarterly. And there are a lot of sort of thought leadership, all sorts of articles that I think make us think as business people. And he asked me to write an article about what's happening internationally, and I wrote one that I called Who Moved the Auditor's Cheese? If you've read that book about Who Moved My Cheese. And I really think auditors have to think about this, and audit standard setters have to think about this very carefully, because as companies, we're not just interested in a report on financial statements anymore. We want to use our auditors or some or other assurance providers to give us comfort on a lot of other things. We issue corporate governance statements, sustainability information, all sorts of things. And our stakeholders are asking us, but how do we know we can rely on this? And we've got this whole thing about combined assurance, but there's always things that fall out that nobody's given us assurance on. And if the auditing profession cannot manage to come up with a mechanism to really help us as audit committees to gain assurance in a value-added way, because you can always get assurance if you throw a lot of money at it, but in a way that really adds value to the process, other people will come out there and they will be giving us assurance. So I think that is really important that auditors and the auditing profession should start thinking about how do they help us to get assurance on some of those other aspects and some of those other areas. How do you make sure that you get, maybe one day we have, in the way that we have an integrated report, we'll have an integrated opinion on all of those things. So those types of things are things that the auditing profession and audit standard setters and regulators will start thinking about in future, because the auditor is a regulated industry, and we know if we get an opinion, there's value to it. And that is really, I think, the future of auditing, the whole understandability of where things are going. So with that, Program Director, I'm going to hand over to you. Thank you.